Dynamite, a woman's clothing app by Group Dynamite that 26 people rate 2 stars. What is it about this app that gives it a 2-star rating? This is my case study. So, my user journey for my case study is a simple one. I must find the cutest fall fashion and share it to all of my Instagram friends. I was informed by my resident fashion expert, my sister, that this is basically what I'm looking for. So, now that I have a baseline, let's get started. Now, when the app first opened, it opened to a loading screen. I don't have any pictures of this loading screen because fortunately it didn't last for a very long time. Instead, we go right to this login screen, which is where I begin my onboarding for the Dynamite women's clothing app. My issue with this screen is that it's boring. This is where your app starts. It starts with a login screen, and now login screens aren't often interesting. You really have to make them as interesting as possible. Having a Spartan design like this with plain text and really only one graphic doesn't make me want to sign on to the app. Moreover, the text is really small, especially on mobile, and it makes it quite difficult to read. So, down at the bottom, when there's the surprise option to skip for now, which is the option I would have gone with if I had known it was there, but it makes it difficult to see simply because of the poor design choices. Anyway, once you've logged in, or haven't if you've noticed that option, you'll be greeted to this next lovely screen. Here is where you will be given the air quotes option to enable notifications. I say it like this because there is no option not to enable notifications. If you want to proceed with the app, you have to hit the notify me button. I find this to be particularly distressing, because if you're at all like me, you don't like notifications on your phone. I don't want a shopping app to invade my life 24/7. It's good to have that option if you want it, but it should not be mandatory. The saving grace in this instance is that immediately after pressing this button, your phone will ask you whether this app can actually enable notifications or not, to which you can say no. However, this is not an option that the app is giving you, it is an option that your phone is giving you. The app is still forcing you. So, after staring at this screen for a little while, I decided to eventually hit the notification button, which gave me this lovely next page. Basically the exact same as the previous page, except this time it is asking to use my location. So the developers decided, after getting the app to force you to make push notifications on your phone, it would be a good idea to force you to give over your location. Now, I know from the previous page that hitting the use my location button would simply prompt my phone to ask me whether I actually wanted to go through with it, to which I could then deny it. But an app like this, of this nature, really shouldn't be asking me for these options. It should be giving me the options. So, this is my solution. Easy, isn't it? I just added a little tiny X to the top corner. This lets people X out of this page if they don't want to use the location or notification settings. It's brilliant, it's simple, it's something that app developers have been using for a long time because it's effective. Oddly enough, my point was proven right by the app itself on the very next page. We get a pop-up screen talking about a 10% discount, and look, in the top right corner, there's a little X to close it if you don't want to go any further. So, of course, I hit this little X, and finally I am in the home screen of the application. Now, I think calling this home page My Studio is a good idea. It evokes a certain personal feeling with the application. It's as though it has given you your own space to do with what you would like. And there's a lot of neat features going on here, like rewards. However, it's presented in a very boring way, all flat grays and whites, really no color or excitement. If the point of this reward system is to gamify the idea of spending lots of money on the website, then they really might want to make the rewards a bit more appealing, rather than just gray symbols with basic text under them. This is my attempt to fix that. I added some color, I changed the sprites a little bit, it's more visually striking, and hopefully, by result, people will remember it for longer, and try and spend more money to achieve the rewards. MIT researchers have found that we can process entire images in just 13 milliseconds, so make your images worthwhile. Now back to the topic at hand. Since we are looking to do some shopping, and conveniently this homepage has a little shopping tab, we can do a bit of exploration in this application. Once you click on the shopping tab, it almost immediately opens this page. And, wonderfully laid out for us, there's a sweater dressing perfected right at the top, which is something we're looking for, so we're going to go ahead and click that. I can hear people groaning in their homes as they open up this page. The one thing I was concerned about based on the results of the application reviews, it's the loading screen. This was one of the reviews I found on that app page. Somebody complaining about this. In fact, they mentioned right afterward that half the time it just crashes. So, seeing this untimely loading symbol was kind of worrying for me. Fortunately, this loading screen didn't last long, only about 10 seconds, but it does grind your navigation of the app to a halt. And of course, following this loading screen, I got this other loading screen. Now, at least this loading screen tells me that something's happening. I have a screen in the background, even with a friendly little message saying, "Hang on, we're getting this ready for you." It's charming, but it lasts a while. This one took about a minute, and following that minute, well, it would appear that my first time navigating this app has ended just like all the other people complaining. It went and it crashed on me. At least I can say I like the crashed screen. It has a little cursive sorry, and it seems something went wrong. It's kind of pleasant, and again, it seems personal, which is something that this app has done well so far. What it hasn't done well is successfully function. So, upon my second attempt, it seemed to all work quite well. I didn't get any loading times, and no crashes. I even found a sweater that seemed to sort of match the example. This new page has size, add to bag, and a little heart symbol. If you select size, or even add to bag, it opens up a little select size box. If you have added the item to your bag, it'll change the message at the bottom to added, and the size will become whatever size you selected. As well, in the top right corner, the little bag symbol has a 1, telling you there's one item in your bag. This whole process is pretty painless and intuitive. It's good that they didn't try and reinvent the wheel here. It operates in much the same way as many online shopping sites do, and it even gets rid of most of the clutter that a lot of online shopping sites have, keeping it down to basically everything you need. After adding this sweater to my bag, I decided to hit the little heart symbol on the bottom right. It looked like a favorite button, but I wanted to find out what it actually did. Upon first clicking it, I was met with a very familiar sight. Ah, the loading screen. It seems like a staple of this app so far. Fortunately, it didn't last long again, only about 10 seconds, and there was no following crash. All I got was a little filled-in heart symbol. I don't really know what this means. It's just a little filled-in heart symbol. It really didn't give me any feedback. It just filled it in for me. I would assume I just favorited this picture or this outfit, but without the app giving me any feedback, I don't know for certain what I just did. So, rather than having just the little heart symbol get filled in, why not have a little pop-up of text, something to say that you wish-listed it? It could even fade shortly after appearing, because this is just to show the user that they did in fact wish-list the item, as shown in the main pages of the app. Before moving on to the next section, I wanted to talk a little bit about this fantastic little info button that they decided to put in the top right corner. I had mentioned earlier about how this page wasn't completely bogged down with extraneous data, and here is where they put it. Under a clearly labeled info tab, you can find all the information that you would need about the product you're looking at. Like the fit, the make, the washing, it's all right there, and it's pretty easy to access. Having all of this on the main page would be too much to sift through. Keeping it separate? That was a good idea. Next, we're on to bottoms. Compared to sweaters, there was virtually no load time with this one. A quick look through the pants and I came up with this. It looks like the base image, so I added it to bag. No issues, which was a nice change of pace. Since the app was working as intended, I was able to move quickly along to footwear. And it was in this section that I first realized the limited selection. There's only 16 shoes on this page. I had to wind up choosing something that was a similar color, I guess. But then, the size I chose came up with the unfortunate message, out of stock. It's occurrences like these that probably make people prefer to shop in-store. There's really no feedback for the out of stock. If they had some sort of message, maybe telling people when their next stock might come in, I'm sure it would make people a lot happier. Even if they just changed the message to be a bit more humane. Maybe say, "Sorry, Graham, but we're out of stock." I did sign in, so they have my name, and they have the potential to do that kind of thing. It would just make it feel a little bit more personal, which is something that the app has done very well so far. And realistically, it's had to. 65% of all users delete the app after the first use, viewing it as negative. So personalization is sort of a safety net. So instead, I chose some other shoe size number, and I added that to bag instead, and moved on to our next section. While moving on to the next section, I encountered this ad. So this ad, unlike the other, is not a pop-up. You cannot X out of it. Instead, it appeared at the top of the page, so you would simply scroll down past it. Having multiple ads like this as a common occurrence isn't too bad, but changing up their format can be confusing for the user. I spent a possibly embarrassing amount of time looking for the X button before I figured out I could simply scroll past it. The last box I was looking to check off on my list was the accessories box. So accessories is a topic that is broad enough to have tabs at the top of its page. This was the first category where I had yet to see tabs, so this was kind of a new feature. Moreover, it turns out that the tabs actually slide across the top, which is why originally it might look as though beauty and fragrance is cut off. This is a design flaw because it doesn't look good and it's difficult to access. I imagine the developer's thought process was that they wanted to keep the style consistent with the other pages, but by changing the way the style works, they have ruined both the style and the functionality. My solution to this would simply be breaking up accessories into some of the subcategories that are listed under accessories. Like so. Here I kept accessories, but I added in a topic of jewelry. By doing this, you could keep the 6 subcategories, but they would now be broken up under both jewelry and accessories. This would keep the functionality and the style of the subcategories. Sadly, none of the subcategories actually contained any sort of bag, so we really didn't get what we wanted from it anyway. Now, with 3 items, sadly missing an accessory, it's time to move on to the next phase: uploading to Instagram. Clicking on the bag icon, we're presented with a familiar sign. Fortunately, again, it's not a particularly long loading screen and it doesn't result in a crash. The next page we see shows us all the items that were added to the bag, ready for checkout. But, having no intentions of purchasing women's clothing, I need to find out how to upload these to Instagram. You might notice from this screen that there's no clear button to upload to Facebook or Instagram. In fact, there's very few buttons at all. The best bet would probably be the Details button, so I went ahead and clicked that. But the Details button only offered an order summary, which is useful for some purposes, but not for uploading to Instagram. As it would turn out, searching this page would be fruitless, since there is no uploading to Instagram button. There is not even an uploading to Facebook button. There is simply a checkout in the shopping bag. Now, this is the page where I would have thought there would be an uploading to Instagram or Facebook button. Logically, this would be the best place for it. All of the items that you've added to your bag are obviously items you're interested in and items that you probably want to show off to your friends. And they're all grouped together on one convenient page, but there's just no option for it. In fact, the only place where I could find a Facebook or Instagram uploading button was at the very bottom of the shop page. If you want to fix the checkout page, just take these 2 buttons and add them to the very bottom of it. It would be useful and convenient. But do you know what happens when you click these buttons? Because I clicked the Instagram button and all it did was take me to their Instagram page. I find this level of oversight to be kind of sickening. The fact is, my whole goal here was to give them free advertising by posting my pictures of their product to all of my followers. And they passed up that opportunity in favor of showing off their own Instagram page. Now, it was true to my word, and I wound up uploading these photos anyway. But I wasn't doing it for the love of Dynamite. They really dropped the ball on this one. Simply having an Instagram tag that would allow you to post any of their photos to your own Instagram would be fantastic. It's a great feature that I imagine would get used by many, and like I said previously, it's free advertising. To pass that up seems pretty obscene. All in all, I don't really know that Dynamite is a 2-star app. It seemed to function on many levels, but there was a lot of oversight. This app has okay informational architecture, but bugs and poor aesthetic elements are constantly dragging it down. You can navigate quite easily when it works, but even when you push through the loading screens and crashes, you'll find an app that is devoid of color and fun. People want to show off their clothes and feel rewarded for repeated purchases. and I find it odd that a shopping application would not offer either.